Hey everyone, welcome back to Daily Devotions. Pastor Steve here walking with you in God's Word. We're in Joshua chapter 13. As we spoke a little bit towards the previous video and those last couple chapters, really a lot of historical context, being able to name names, name kings, name cities. And as we go into 13, it's just kind of unraveling that just a little bit more as we get to see lands, as we get to see allotments, and as we get to name names once again of really kind of condensing all together in one chapter, the conquest of Joshua and the Israelites. And it was kind of in four stages. We get east of the Jordan. We get them actually entry into Canaan, kind of the same east and entry into Canaan. We get the southern campaign. We get the northern campaign. We get the western campaign. We'll walk through that in just a little bit. Just wanted to give you a little tip of the iceberg there. But being able to say Joshua chapter 13, lands still need to be taken, still need to be conquered, because there's a little bit of a remnant left, and God is going to clear out this remnant of Canaanites, Hivites, Perizzites, all those kind of ites, to be able to plant his people in the place that he promised. Is kind of what we left off in that last video. So Joshua chapter 13, beginning at verse 1. When Joshua was old, and my footnote gives me a great kind of point to this. It says maybe between 90 to 100 years old is what their take is here, kind of a take of age of looking through the years where he's been in Egypt and wanderings, and now in amongst this time. We get to see for certain Caleb, his kind of counterpoint, his partner that went in as spies. We get to see that in chapter 14, next video, that he was 85. They kind of mentioned that. So when Joshua was old, between 90 and 100, and well advanced in years, the Lord said to him, "You are very old, and there are still very large areas of land to be taken over. This is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and the Geshurites, from the Shihar River on the east of Egypt to the territory of Ekron on the north, all of it counted as Canaanite. The territory of the 5 Philistine rulers in Gaza." I mean, it's pretty contemporary right now, right? Of everything that's going on over in Gaza. We need to pray for Gaza. We need to pray for Israel. We need to pray for those people over there for certain. But it brings forth, this is the territory. This is the land. This is the conquest. It's always been back and forth. But here we get to see the territory of the 5 Philistine rulers: Gaza, Ashdod, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron, that of Avites. From the south, all the land of the Canaanites, from Erah to the Sidonians, as far as Aphak. And then the region of the Amorites, the area of the Gibeonites, and all Lebanon to the east, from Baal Gad below Mount Hermon to Lebo Hamath. As for all the inhabitants of the mountain regions from Lebanon to Mishrafath Maim, that is, all the Sidonians, which is going to be kind of northwest Israel, I myself will drive them out before the Israelites. Be sure to allocate this land to Israel for inheritance as I have instructed you, and divide it as an inheritance among the 9 tribes and half the tribe of Manasseh. The other half of Manasseh, the Reubenites and the Gadites, had received their inheritance that Moses had given them east of the Jordan, as he, the servant of the Lord, had assigned it to them. It extended from Aroer on the rim of the Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and included the whole plateau of Madaba as far as Dibon, and all the towns of Sihon, king of Amorites, who ruled in Heshbon, out to the border of the Ammonites. It also included Gilead, the territory of the people of Geshur, and Makkah, all of Mount Hermon, and all Bashan, as far as Selachah. That is, the whole kingdom of Og and Bashan, who had reigned in Ashtaroth and Adrai, and had survived as one of the last of the Rephaites. Moses had defeated them and taken over their land. But the Israelites did not drive out the people of Geshur and Makkah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. But to the tribe of Levi he gave no inheritance, since the offerings made by fire to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he promised them. And so once again, if you don't know that history, Levites, the tribe of Levi, was given not necessarily a territory, but they were given the promises and the great responsibility of being able to take care of the temple, take care of the tabernacle, as it says here, right? The offerings made by fire to the Lord. They were in charge of the worship life, the presence of God with His people, and so they were actually furnished and provided for through the tabernacle, and actually lived right around the presence of God in that way. Verse 15, it says, "This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Reuben, clan by clan. The territory from Aroer over to the rim of Arnon Gorge, and from the town in the middle of the gorge, and the whole plateau past Medeba to Heshbon, and all his towns on the plateau, including Dibon, Bamoth, Baal, Beth Baal Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mephath, Kirithaim, Sibma, Serath, Shahar on the hill in the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, and Beth Jehamath. All the towns on the plateau and the entire realm of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon. Moses had defeated him and the Midianite chiefs, Evi, Rakim, Zur, Hur, and Reba, princes allied with Sihon, who lived in that country. In addition to those slain in battle, the Israelites had put to the sword Balaam, son of Beor, who practiced divination. The boundary of the Reubenites was the bank of the Jordan. These towns and their villages were the inheritance of the Reubenites clan by clan. This is what Moses had given to the tribe of Gad, clan by clan, the territory of Jazer, all the towns of Gilead, and half the Ammonite country, as far as Eror, near Rabbah. And we can go on, and I know you're probably thinking, do we really need to know all these names, and where is this getting us? And that's why I'm skipping forward real quickly, because unless you have a map, and I just am not going to get down into those depths with you in this devotion to be able to walk into that map. I'm going to go there real quickly. But going through these names, you get to see that the territory has been claimed and has been owned now. Right, verse 29 says, "This is what Moses had given to the half tribe of Manasseh, that is, to the half the family of the descendants of Manasseh, clan by clan." And so it goes on to what they inherited. Verse 32, "This is the inheritance Moses had given when he was in the plains of Moab, across the Jordan east of Jericho. But to the tribe of Levi, Moses had given no inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he promised them." And so as you get to see these conquests and lands, it might get a little laborious. It might be able to say, why do we need to know this? Why is this even jotted down? It's really jotted down because, once again, it's a promise fulfilled. It is a historical narrative, but at the same time, it's pretty exact and detailed of who encamped in that land. It's pretty actually beneficial, and I can't go there politically because it's not political, but it's pretty beneficial today of being able to say, whose is that land? Well, it was always from the clans of Israel. And as we get to see national Israel compared to Israelite of Abraham covenant, and getting to see Jacob's sons, there's always that back and forth, especially in the contemporary view of Palestine and Israel. As I said, don't need to go there. But all of these names really kind of consist in us and push us to the point of being able to actually walk forward into the conquest of Canaan, the promised land, right? And it's number one is the entry into Canaan. Number two, the central campaign. This is where we get to see Jericho and Ai and the cities kind of right in the central area of Israel. Number three was the southern campaign. As they went up into that central campaign, they came down. We get to see what's in the news today. This is where we get to see Gaza, Gaza Strip, West Bank, farther down southwest, and the conquest that was taking there. And then the fourth, and not the last, but the northern campaign. As they went down that southern campaign, they came north all the way up, following up to Sea of Galilee, up to Mount Hermon, as it's meant here. That's the actually the source of water from Mount Hermon flows down the Jordan River into the Sea of Galilee, Jordan River down into the Dead Sea. And so a 87-mile north span of land. And that's where they're conquesting. That's where they've taken this land, but this is where they're settling this land. We get to see, excuse me, 9.5 tribes on the west side of Jordan and 2.5 tribes on the east side of Jordan. Why do you need to know all this detail? I don't know. It's pretty fascinating when you really want to dig deep into it. But for our purposes, it's really fascinating because God is a God of details. God is a God of details that he promised this so long ago to Jacob and his sons, the 12 tribes of Israel. And here are the 12 tribes of Israel. Clan by clan, being able, they've marched out of Egypt. They've actually, generation by generation, died off in the wilderness so that no one that sinned or said that they couldn't go into this conquest remained except two people, Joshua and Caleb. But clan by clan, generational, passed down to follow the Lord. He's leading them into this conquest. And just as he promised, just as he said that Jacob's sons would settle into this land, here they are, settling into this land. God is a God of detail. God is a God of victory. And God is a God that keeps his promises. And so, yeah, while we fumble over the names, while we don't really think we need to know clans and names and stuff like that, it's a beautiful history inside of Scripture to be able to push us forth, to be able to know the history that happened throughout the world and in this world at this point, to be able to just put a little bit of understanding of God and his detail, of God and his supremacy, and God in his fulfilled promises. And so, once again, brothers and sisters, God is a God of details. He knows what you need, and he promises to provide. He knows the detail of your life. And that's a beautiful thing. He knows how many hairs are on your head. He knows exactly what you need in your circumstances, in your situation. So keep on praying because he's a God of promises and he is a God who hears. And to that, we say, thanks be to God. Have a blessed day.